Mr. Saurabh Mishra joined the Government of India as the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Department of Financial Services in September 2019. At the Ministry of Finance, he is responsible for all policy matters relating to life general and health insurance sector, including PSU and private insurers, reinsurers, and insurance intermediaries, and legislative and administrative oversight of all PSICs, including LIC and GIC Re. He is the Chief Information Security Officer and is also the Technology Officer for the Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance. Previously, he also served as the additional charge as Managing Director and CEO, CERSAI, a fully government-owned technology entity managing national digital registries for security interest and central Know Your Client. Mr. Saurabh also serves as the Government Nominee Director on the board of National Insurance Company Limited and has over 25 years of experience in the financial services sector in Indian and overseas markets. Before joining the Government of India, he worked with Willis Towers Watson as Head of Client Management and Banking, Financial Services Industry Leader, India. Mr. Saurabh also served on the board of Willis Towers Watson, India as its whole-time director and the country representative for the Asia CFT Engagement Board. Previously, Mr. Saurabh was on the Group CEO of Muscat Insurance Company based at Oman. It is indeed an honor to have you with us today, sir, and we wholeheartedly welcome you to deliver the theme address.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and stalwarts from the insurance industry. I think I've been just looking at the faces which are a part of this colloquium, and most of them I would have possibly connected very deeply or intermittently. So thanks a lot for the organizers for having such a relevant theme for the discussion, and more so in the current context. So I think the theme that is combating challenges is in the emerging insurance scenarios, and the perspective post-pandemic is not just relevant for the fraternity of the sector, but also to each person of the country, whether a common man or a business person whose lives and businesses have undergone a 360-degree change due to disruption that has been caused by COVID pandemic. And therefore, it is really apt that we've been seeing the life more like a fork, which is recovering from the aftermath of this drastic event. Clearly two different worlds appearing, pre-COVID and post-COVID. And that has already started happening, that defining line all of us can see. And if that is an imaginary line, I think it is clearly demarcating a landmark event that went through for all of us. And of the risk experts who are there, including Mr. Thakkar and all, I think you would agree that we still are in a risk in motion type of scenario for it to be called a proper risk which is played out. COVID-19, sad to note that yes, it brought our lives to a standstill. At one point, we were feeling absolutely helpless and helpless to the new world order. Economies were badly bruised. India was not an exception either. Businesses were closed, lives were lost. That's what COVID did to us. However, given the fact that we all are known to what it did to us, rather than delving much deep into what it has done in the last 1.5 years or so, especially in case of India, let's rather focus on the key challenges and structures. That is what it has brought forward in terms of an optimism, in terms of the future, and the way we can really take this to the next level from the opportunities converted into leverage perspective. So one of the key concerns that takes the center stage in the post-COVID-19 era in the world is the need to focus on our health infrastructure. So I was also listening into Professor Chaturvedi and kind of 3 thematic sessions which are going to cover. Very well curated itself, because these are really the 3 areas in which from a risk and the risk protection professionals, the whole segment can look at it from that perspective. It's time that we looked at some of the loopholes which were kind of brought out naked in front of us, and how do we really take a dig at it now in terms of increasing the capacities, ensuring availability of healthcare at the time when it is required, not just waiting for it to happen or to get played out and are being kind of a mute witness to it. It's also the opportune time for the health insurance sector as well as the entire medical and health fraternity to take the lead and take bold measures so that we are better placed for something of even close to what COVID-19 was in the future. Now, the enablers that we can think about from the insurance perspective is providing insurance coverage against the health risks, which cuts across not just the fraternities involved into that, that is the doctors and health workers and so on and so forth, but cutting across whatever damage it's been doing. Two fundamental damages that comes to my mind immediately. One of them is the education side of it. So obviously, while we know that education from home or school from home or college from home has become a new normal, including the one which we are doing today, I would have imagined BIMTech to do its colloquium in a physical environment, which is not the case. So I think that's becoming a reality. Now, whatever is kind of a concern that is arising out of it, including the physicality which is required for many occasions, is something that we are really sizing up that particular risk or assessing it out. The second point, of course, is about the sectors that it has really hit the most. These sectors including the capacity building for health infrastructure, talking about the coverages around the industrial side of the growth, talking about some of the insurance covers which have really started coming in after the COVID has hit across in terms of discussion, debate, and finally, therefore, a conclusion level. The insurance business interruption risks, which needs to be thought about from that perspective, and so on. So I think a series of things which are now beginning to uncover itself of the new risks and the new sectoral perspectives which need to be thought in terms of insurances, as well as the protection and prevention devices. From the health sector, once again, I believe that 3 or 4 fundamental things that can come into play is availability of the suitable health infrastructure, affordability to ensure maximum outreach and coverage around it, accessibility to the necessary and bare minimum services, with a focus on tailor-making those solutions to cater to the diversified needs which erupted during the COVID time, across metros, across the tier 2 cities, and then, of course, the hinterland of the country, which began to get felt, especially in the COVID wave 2. And finally, the assurance of the quality services, with a thrust on the awareness of how those services can be utilized. In fact, I would rather go ahead and say that let's add another A to these 4 availabilities: affordability, accessibility, and assurance, which is the adaptability. I think the gap between the adaptability to what we are really moving towards is blurring in terms of how we really need to take forward our next steps on how do we combat the era and prepare ourselves for the era, which is the post-pandemic era, which we are beginning to witness, if not now, in a short while from now. Businesses need to evolve from traditional brick and mortar setup, we've all known now, to a new era of digital and marketing strategies, repositionings to connect to the consumers at large, and aim at bringing services to their doorsteps. Organizations need to reorganize internally, and operations and delivery teams need to collaborate with each other on a deeper level to remodel their entire growth path, strategy, and to change in the consumer demands way. Preferences with the accelerated pace need to really look from the digitization of service perspective. And that, to my mind, becomes the central theme if we have to look at businesses and its resiliences. BCPs, as we call it, is another area which obviously has become more aware and woken up in the eyes of the boards across the country, across the services, across the manufacturing side of it. And telecommunication growth is another area which I would believe is something which is becoming more and more important, more so in the era that we are now facing and going into, with the accessibility of mobile phones and the data, which is far, far cheaper than it used to be 5, 10, 15 years from now, 15 years earlier. That data bandwidth is becoming more and more adaptable to the tier 3 and tier 4 cities as well. The other side of the story on the post-pandemic is that it has forced the consumers to reassess their entire financial capacities and prioritize their budgetary concerns in order to ensure survival. And last but not least, a steady supply of food at home. So we all belong to that country which has layers, and we must be cognizant of that factor of points of time. And mind you, most of these layers are those layers which are underprivileged or underprivileged layers. So to that extent, I believe that the job loss or the transition of one location to the other for those who are daily wagers and all is something which we as a country faced it to the maximum amount. And that brunt was so ferocious that not a single side of the beneficiary arrangements or the benefit transmission that were being done from my ministry or from others was sufficient enough in order to take away the entire plight. So all of us were doing our jobs, but the fact is that there is somewhere, somehow, that discomfort, distress, which was available, which was visible, which it went through. So I think it's time that industry responds positively to such cases of employees who lost their jobs and trying to get back into the race and so on. And to those industry stalwarts, I don't think that the balance sheet starts and ends in just financial year, which is called the COVID financial year, or the two financial years, which are COVID financial years. If you carry that resilience, if you carry that risk management ability and practice, you will get enough amount of years ahead of you for you to make really profits around it. So to that extent, I really urge the industry through this discussion and have that awareness around it, that it's time to get counted. On the life insurance side, I believe financial planning is something which was relevant in earlier years. But when you realize it as a customer or a potential customer, I think that's where it begins to get played. And to that extent, health, apart from financial planning, and the investment kind of methodology is something which is becoming more and more important and is coming up now from the bottom-up side of it. It is kind of a self-created demand or a self-created need, which is taking this industry from a dedicated or a TED push industry to a bit of a kind of a pull as well to that extent. The other concern that we have is the contribution of sector towards the climate change effects that are really looming large. The Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG as they are called in acronym, whether it connects to the poverty, the drinking water, or the climate actions around that, all of that needs to be handled. And to my mind, if I just use the cricketing jargon, I think risk and insurance are the wicket keeping or a third man industry. The actual match is being played at the industry, which needs to be protected, be it the real sector of the economy or the service sector of the economy. So I think to that extent, the visibility, the awareness, and the relentlessness with which we have to observe those areas, which were hitherto not observed at the level of risk in which we need to digest it, absorb it, and therefore then think about protecting those risks or preventing those risks. So there's a clear linearity with which I see the whole spectrum of the real and service sector connecting to the risk assessment and awareness part of it, and a part of it connecting to the protection that it ensures. So for example, a green building, which is being covered by the insurers at a discount, or electrical vehicles that are entitled to a discount in their premiums, all those thoughts will keep emerging when we have a clear-cut green effect around us in our thought processes, in our philosophies, in our building businesses, in our transacting businesses, in our serving businesses, and are making our businesses risk efficient. So that element has to kick in. Having said that, not for a moment, I am kind of separated from the fact that the the born greens have to be really spaced out from a turning green type of economies. And India is not a born green. We are a vast country, and we will have our learning curve around it, and we'll have our own kind of a way for the carbon neutrality, or for that kind of commitments to be really complied to in the way the whole world is looking at us. So we've got our path with which we have to follow it. However, if it starts kicking into the risk professional, the risk fraternities and the risk communities, and all of us belong to that community in one way or the other. I think once that sets in, the 10 or 20s or hundreds of us in this colloquium, and then the thousands of our risk advocates or risk communities, and then the millions of it, I think we can cover the whole of India in terms of the points which are being mentioned in today's discussions and debates on those areas that we are covering up. And if we take that mantle upon ourselves, each one of us, individually, collectively, and as a community, I think days are not too far when the risk becomes a new normal in terms of its understanding, and hence in terms of its assessment and efficiencies. Insurance is just a subset of it. As regards seeing the opportunities, post the COVID world, I clearly see lots and lots of opportunities. I think there are lots of surveys. I do recollect PwC's estimate of a survey wherein the 18% of the urban population and around 14% of the population is insured. I think this topic has been discussed umpteen number of times, and therefore it's more of a repetition. We are 3.7% covered in terms of our overall coverage, which we call it as a penetration ratio. But I would also feel there's time that we came out with some new benchmarks, and not just those money-driven or dollar-driven benchmarks like penetration density. We also need to think of how many times an average Indian is covered for his health, for his accident, for his life, for his other needs, and so on and so forth. So I think that as a community, we also must develop our own benchmarks to understand how covered India is, apart from the penetration density. But needless to say that these two parameters, which are globally accepted, it still suggests a lot of it, which we need to really travel the distance. As against 3.7 on penetration, 6.3 is the global average. So obviously, I have a lot to cover. When it comes to general insurance, we are less than 1 versus 10 times of that, which is there in terms of the average premium that is being consumed on general insurance by per person. So I think we clearly need to remain cognizant of this fact with regard to our individual risks. As regards the pandemic risk or the calamity risk, I think a lot of risk financing mechanisms are getting developed, as we all know. Cat bonds, equity markets, alternate risk transfers, and so on and so forth. And as we speak, between Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Home Affairs, who are managing the calamities and so on and so forth, in consultation with the regulators, we have got active debate going on. A few of those debates, I think some of our members in this group are a part of. Joydeep ji is obviously one of them whom we look upon for many such discussions and ideas. But I would imagine that apart from whatever is being done at the Government of India and directly from the Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Health or Home, and so on and so forth, it's time that we took this entire factor of risk to the next level, which is about the risk communities. And to that extent, if you are really involved into the way we should write the next chapter of India in terms of its health policies, in terms of its health framework, in terms of its pandemic risk framework, in terms of its natural calamity risk framework, and so on, I would believe that this community should get counted. And I'm really looking forward to it in terms of whatever deliberations that will take place today as a medium of collaboration between us and the industry players. And it would be a delight if the extract of such sessions to Professor Chaturvedi, they are collated and shared, so that something concrete can emerge for the betterment of our collective future as a nation. So I would pause here. Good wishes for the success of this colloquium and being such a lovely audience.
Thank you, sir. Mr.